See, I hate to break it to you, but you're fueling your fear of abandonment by continuing to abandon yourself. If you're a people pleaser, that means you put other people's needs, other people's desires before your own in hopes that they will then not abandon you. If you're emotionally avoidant, if you push people away, you are abandoning your need for love, connection, so that you don't even get close to it. There is no option for someone to abandon you because you never get there.
So if you've been following this channel for a long time, you know that I've been saying this probably once a week for the past 5, 6, however many years. And it's a really important concept. And so I love that this woman is driving attention to this concept and talking about this. But I also want to give some practical and tangible steps here for how you can change this, because probably the number one question I get asked when I share about self-abandonment and that being part of the anxious attachment style comfort zone that really creates that vicious cycle and keeps those wounds of fearing abandonment alive. The number one thing I hear is, okay, so how do I stop abandoning myself and what do I actually do about it? So I want to go through first some tangible examples of probably how and or where you may be abandoning yourself, so you have a clear inventory of this. And then what I want to take you through is some really tangible steps of how you can change and set this abandonment cycle to rest once and for all. But most importantly, at the end of this video, we'll talk about why ending self-abandonment is one of the fastest ways to find a healthy, loving partner or improve the quality of your relationship with your current partner. So, first and foremost, self abandonment basically means putting your feelings, your needs, or your boundaries, or even your truth on the back burner in favor of trying to win approval, right? So, let's say, for example, that you're in the workplace and somebody says something that hurts your feelings or affects you. Rather than trying to take up space and be like, hey, you know what, that didn't land very well. Can you be mindful and try to talk to me this way in the future? Or if you, rather than basically communicating or course correcting, you may even go so far as to pretend like if the person's like, oh, sorry, was that harsh? You're like, oh, no, it's fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry. And you go so far as to really diminish, deflect, or repress taking up space in regards to how things are affecting your feelings. Another example of this could be with your needs, right? So there could be an example where your boss is like, hey, I need you to stay after work. Hey, I need you to stay after work. And, rather than that being a one off thing, you see that that's basically the pattern 5 days a week. You're there for an hour and a half after work every day, staying late because you were asked. But it's like, hey, are you being paid for that time? And if you're not intentionally doing that to make more money, to be paid, well, why are you staying an hour and a half late in work every day? And unless that's like your intentional goals because you're trying to rise up in the ranks and you have a strategy and a reverse engineered roadmap for how to get there, and it's very clear and intentional and it's coming from your choice. If you're just doing it because you feel pressured to, or because you're so used to just saying yes to people, then you end up putting your needs on the back burner. Like maybe you have a need to go home and like exercise after work, or go to a dance class, or meet up with a friend, or do something social. And you find yourself not even having energy to do those things because you're so busy just trying to people please your boss. So that would be an example of putting your needs on the back burner. Another one could be your boundaries. Maybe somebody is pressuring you around something related to intimacy, and maybe they want to move at a different pace than you do, and you're so scared to be rejected or to disappoint somebody that you move your boundaries out of the way to try to prioritize what you think somebody wants from you. And that doesn't have to be like this all or nothing thing. It can be in this gray area of like maybe you're not even sure if you like somebody yet, and you find yourself just being pushed along with how quickly to move into intimate relationship dynamics because you're like, oh my gosh, what if I have a boundary and then I get rejected, or I'm a burden, or I'm not accepted by somebody? So, all of those would be tangible examples of how we abandon either our own feelings, our own needs, our own boundaries, or your own truth, right? Maybe you're sitting down at dinner with somebody on a date, and maybe you have a political view, for example, that you carry near and dear to your heart, and that is a big part of your truth and something you believe in, or a philosophical idea, or whatever it might be, right? But you sit there and you have a truth, and somebody has a different truth than you, and they start talking about it. And rather than saying, hey, that's interesting, but I actually feel this way, you will say, Oh, really cool. Yeah, I definitely agree. And you'll just be agreeable at the expense of honoring your voice and your truth and what's going on for you. So, those would all be examples of ways that we self abandon through people pleasing. Now, what do you actually do about this? Well, first step is to take inventory. And if you have never done this before, please take a moment to do this. Sit down and write out the columns of the major areas of life: career, financial, mental, which is like your thoughts, opinions, ideas, philosophies, views, emotional, which is like your emotional regulation, your feelings, your emotional boundaries, things like that. Spiritual, right? And personally, I'm a spiritual person. Some people are more religious than spiritual. Some people don't even have to have a religious or spiritual compass. They can just have a strong moral compass that could fit into that category. But just put that spiritual area of life. And then physical, which is like your health, your body, and then relationships. Okay. And relationships, you can even break down into friends, family, and romantic. Now, once you have these mapped out, what I would love for you to do is try to take inventory over the course of a couple days, or you can sit down for half an hour and start and then add to it throughout the week and see what comes up for you. But try to take inventory with all the places I abandoned myself this week. And it may shock you. You may be like, oh my goodness, I totally self abandon all the time. And then we course correct. Okay. This is the huge part of healing and changing this. And we course correct using many different tools. But in this case, for this video, I'm going to give you one really simple tool, and it is called exposure work. And what you do is slowly but surely, because the subconscious is reconditioned through repetition and emotion. It's how we fire and wire new neural pathways. And as we do this repeatedly for about 21 days or so, we actually solidify these neural pathways until they become our new normal. So set a goal for about 21 days that every day you're going to expose yourself to doing one thing that honors your truth instead. Okay. Now start with small things. Don't go like right to your scary boss and tell them you're never staying late again. Do something small. Do something with like your trusted coworker. Like set your boundary where if they always take your stuff and forget to give it back, you're like, hey, can you give me your, or can you give me my stuff back today? Like just something small that you feel like you can action out with somebody you trust and is easier to talk to. But after day 7, after day 14, as you get to day 21, this is where you want to broaden your horizons, right? So you do one small boundary per day or one small expression of a need or feeling per day. So you're allowing yourself to take up space. And over the course of time, across that 21 days, you're going to see that you're building this new subconscious comfort zone that takes you out of this old cycle of self abandonment and plugs you into, no, I deserve to take up space. Now, here's why this actually will make you more attractive to other people. And I'm going to tell you about that in just a second, but I want to let you know if this is something you're stuck on in a big way, or if you find yourself with other wounds like fears of rejection, being disliked, being not good enough or unworthy, being betrayed or trapped or shamed. If you have these big wounds that come up for you frequently, you can actually check out fully for free a course just for a limited time called the Emotional Mastery and Belief Reprogramming course that will give you multiple tools for how to really recondition these patterns very fast and in a very simple form where it takes you like 3 minutes a day for a very short period of time. And I will put a link to that below. But I want you to know that the less you self abandon, the more attractive you are. Why? Because one of the things that people are most attracted to is people who express their repressed traits. It's one of the 3 major factors that psychologically and subconsciously drives attraction. What does that mean? It means that we are attracted to people who express different characteristics in their personality than we do. So think about people who don't take up space. What are they trying so hard to be? Agreeable. They're trying so hard to match the environment and the people of those around them. But being too agreeable is not attractive because then there's no expression of repressed traits. There's no expression of somebody having different traits or characteristics or needs or interests or feelings or boundaries than we do. And biologically, we will find that less attractive because we are wired for something known as trait variety. We're wired so that we can eat. And just think of this from like a biological perspective, right? Back in the day when you're out in the world trying to survive as a human being, not back in any day that we've lived in, but back in the day of human beings, if somebody really smart pairs up with somebody really strong, they have a better chance at surviving together. And so we're wired to be attracted to people who express and portray themselves as different from ourselves. And so you taking up space and you expressing your truth, if you have different needs or feelings or boundaries or beliefs from somebody else, is actually going to make you more attractive, not only to potential people you're dating, but also to the relationships around you. But start small, start consistently over time, expand that outwards. And that's going to help you build a better relationship to yourself where you self soothe better, where you feel more regulated, and make you more attractive in the eyes of others. Check out that emotional mastery and belief reprogramming course if you want to fast track your way to reconditioning wounds, painful patterns, things you want to let go of in your relationship dynamics, including the relationship to yourself. That link is down below. And if you don't want to miss any of these episodes on a daily basis, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by.